Challenger 2 main battle tank has been in service for nearly 3 decades by this point. It has seen action in multiple conflicts, including the ongoing one in Ukraine. But while current events may be close to us right now, Challenger's 2 reputation was born in a war far detached from current events. Known in the USA and the wider world as Operation Iraqi Freedom, and in Britain as Operation Telic, during which a myth was born of a Challenger 2 tank surviving 17 and by some accounts 70 RPG and ATGM hits. In this video, I'm aiming to clear up this myth and present a more down-to-earth, but hopefully a more factual account of what happened on that fateful March day near Basra. The widespread version of what transpired on 30th of March 2003 in Abu al-Kazib, about 15 kilometers south of Basra, goes as follows. A Challenger 2 tank belonging to Royal Scots Dragoon Guards was leading an assault on the Iraqi city of Ibrahim, where it drove into a quite well-prepared trap. It was set up by the Iraqi Republican Guard unit, which had the reputation of quite an elite formation. The Iraqis carried out an ambush utilizing ATGMs and multiple small AT units equipped with RPGs. The first hit was a Milan ATGM, which took out its main sight. The Iraqis then quickly targeted the driver's vision block, rendering the driver blind. The commander, still calm, ordered the driver to slowly reverse back to their supporting troops, and slowly, but surely, they did start maneuvering out of the trap. But then, one of the tracks fell off, causing the tank to get stuck in an irrigation ditch next to the road. By that point, the Iraqi troops were rapidly closing in on the tank, focusing their fire on remaining vision devices to blind the now immobile machine by utilizing both small arms and RPGs. The simple backup sight, located on the right side of the barrel, was now the sole means of seeing the outside world. The ferocious and unexpected assault from the Iraqi troops had caused the supporting British infantry to stay behind, leaving the tank alone for about 15 minutes, during which, according to the story, it had to fight off its assailants on its own. The situation went from bad to worse when the tank got hit by another Milan ATGM, but it nonetheless continued to fire on the Iraqi troops using its main 120mm L30A1 rifle gun and the coaxial 7.62 machine gun. With each passing minute, the crew was fearing of the enemy troops managing to force open the hatch and finishing the job by throwing in explosives. But that didn't happen, as the Iraqi troops were forced to retreat by the British reinforcements. While the reinforcements pushed the Iraqis away from the besieged machine, the crew got out of the tank and managed to hook it up to a recovery vehicle. They were then towed away to the safety of the rear lines. It is said that the engineers managed to fully repair the tank in less than a day, and it was back to the front line, continuing the push to Basra. On Wikipedia, we can read quite an amazing claim on the repair taking only 6 hours, which is, to put it bluntly, a fairy tale. By some accounts, the tank got hit 17 times during that encounter, by others 16 or 14. This is still closer to reality than what a certain person has spread around. One Francis Toussaint, an editor of Defense Review, in an interview with BBC has said, to quote,
"Apaches are not heavily armored, and it takes just one rocket-propelled grenade to bring one down. Compare that with one British Challenger near Basra, which survived being hit by 70 RPGs.
One has to wonder why such a claim comes up in a discussion about the Apache attack helicopter. But 20 years later, this claim still lives on, with all the evidence pointing towards nothing like that ever happening. So, how much of those accounts hold true to what most likely happened? The tank, which is the centerpiece of this story, was indeed a Challenger 2 operating as part of the Royal Scots Dragoon Guards. To be exact, this tank was part of Squadron C during the call sign 2-1 and was crewed by Commander Sergeant David Bard of Killwing, North Ayrshire, Gunner Stuart Ferguson from Pollock, Glasgow, Loader William Fraser from Inverness, Highland, and driver Ilivia Makawai from Fiji. I'm sorry if I butchered anything here. But this is where the events already start to diverge from the commonly told myth. 2-1 wasn't the lead vehicle of the column approaching Abu al-Kazib, which in the myth is named Ibrahim, stemming from one of the crew members calling the suburb like that during an interview. They were in fact second, behind 2-2, which was the lead vehicle. Both part of the 2nd Troop, Squadron C of the mentioned Dragoons, they were attached as armoured support to 3rd Commander Brigade of the Royal Marines, as part of Operation James, taking place from 29th to 31st of March. They were tasked with securing objectives codenamed Pussy and Galore, all in tribute to Ian Fleming novels featuring the famous MI6 agent James Bond. 2-1, commanded by Sergeant Byrd, was trailing behind 2-2, and itself was being trailed by 2-0, with Pinzgauer tracks belonging to the Royal Marines in between. The column was finished with support assets in form of the squadron leader, Major Jonathan Biggart, in 0 Bravo, a forward observation officer in his Warrior AOP, and a CR ARRV, callsign 33 Bravo, from 2nd Battalion of Royal Electrical and Mechanical Engineers, commanded by Corporal John Morgan. Their current target was an important crossroads, which commanded the southern approaches to Basra. The mission was not going to be easy. Basra was fighting in an encirclement, as the coalition forces deemed it a strategic target and originally expected relatively weak resistance, but were faced with the complete opposite. As the unexpected resistance persisted, US forces pushed northwards, leaving Basra under siege led by the British, as they deemed them to be more experienced with this kind of operations. The approach to the target, which was a narrow passage of raised ground in the marshy salt flats of the Al-Faf Peninsula, was a very dangerous path, as the flats surrounding the roads were not hospitable to the heavyweight Challenger 2 MBTs, which heavily restricted British ability to maneuver. The convoy reached the crossroads a bit after 11:30 am, and as soon as they reached it, they were engaged by machine gun fire and RPGs from mud shacks and a few buildings to their left front. The first vehicle to be struck was the leading 2-2. It got hit by 4 RPGs and was forced to withdraw, leaving 2-1 as the lead vehicle. This is likely where the people spreading the myth got the idea about 2-1 being in the lead of the convoy. As soon as 2-1 was at the forefront, the Fedayeen started to advance toward the tank, using children as living shields in hopes of closing the distance with lesser casualties. Sergeant Byrd forbade his gunner from firing at the advancing forces until the children dispersed. As soon as the children did, the attacking group was engaged with 120mm Hesh rounds from the main gun and coaxial machine gun fire. From crew accounts, 6 Iraqi troops were killed by the blast, with a dozen more being killed by the coaxial armament. However, the Iraqis weren't idly watching by when their men were engaged. They quickly changed tactics, starting to concentrate the small arms fire on Makawai vision port, quickly rendering him blind, same as in the story. Soon after, the main side got hit by an RPG, but contrary to popular belief with pictures flowing around the internet, it was not the TOG-2 located on the top of the barrel that was struck. It was instead the primary day sight sticking out from the roof. The pictures showing the destroyed thermal imager and its housing come from a different incident from August 2004, over a year later. Immediately after, the tank got hit on the left cheek by another RPG, which took out both the coaxial machine gun and the left-hand smoke grenade launcher. The hit to the cheek was instantly followed up with another RPG shot, this time hitting the rear of the turret roof and smashing 2 vision blocks of the commander, rendering him partially blind. By this point, 2-1 was also hit 4 times, same as 2-2, and Sergeant Byrd, seeing the deteriorating situation, as the whole convoy was quite beaten up by the attack with multiple vehicles damaged and some destroyed, ordered the driver to start reversing. However, their path was blocked by one of the destroyed Pinzgauer trucks of the Royal Marines. Byrd gave the order left stick to guide the driver in a way that would push the truck out of the road. However, the inexperienced Makawai, who was with the regiment only since Christmas, 3 months prior, pulled right, causing their tank to slip off the raised passage into a deep ditch, throwing both tracks in the process and jamming them between the suspension arms. Other tanks behind instantly went forward to cover the now stuck 2-1, contrary to the myth in which 2-1 was all alone. Here, it had full support of their troop. The FOO ordered a fire mission from the 29th Commando Royal Artillery with their 105mm guns to suppress the enemy. At the same time, the now immobile Challenger got hit by a Milan ATGM on the front of the turret, rocking the whole tank and causing the loader, William Fraser, to fall and break his left wrist. Thankfully, the missile has struck in the best possible spot for the crew, that being the thick turret front armor, and no more injuries were sustained by the crew. With enemy forces successfully suppressed by combined artillery and tank fire, the recovery vehicle 3-3 Bravo, commanded by Morgan, started the recovery operation of the stricken MBT. With substantial difficulties, the CRARRV managed to reach 2-1, and the engineers started to assess the situation. With both tracks jammed between the suspension arms, they assessed that they needed more than 100 tons of pull force. One Challenger armored repair and recovery vehicle, while capable, was not enough for this task. They nonetheless tried, hoping that it would work. But when the winch of the 3-3 Bravo failed, it became clear that 2-1 was not moving anywhere. 3-3 Bravo decided to withdraw, taking the injured Fraser and the gunner, Stuart Ferguson, with them to the rear. In place of the now withdrawn 3-3 Bravo, C Squadron of Royal Engineers Light Aid Detachment was called forward with their Challenger armored recovery and repair vehicle, codenamed 2-4 Charlie, commanded by Corporal James Garrett, with a crew consisting of recovery mechanic Corporal Justin Simmons and technician Corporal Rick Parker. On their way to the site, they picked up 3-3 Bravo commander Corporal John Morgan. It was late afternoon, and 2-1 was still stuck at the forefront with Baird and McAvoy inside, still fired upon with small arms and occasionally mortars. As the darkness approached, 2-4 Charlie laid down its smokescreen and commenced another try at the recovery operation. Morgan, Simmons and Parker went to check on 2-1 and attached the winch rope. Gently and slowly, 2-4 managed to pull 2-1 back onto the road, but the angle was so steep and the raised portion of the road so narrow that the Challenger nearly immediately slid into the ditch on the other side, into an even more difficult position, snapping the winch rope in the process. For all intents and purposes, both CRARRVs at their disposition were now out of action. Determined to recover 2-1, the REME engineers began to work on the tank in more traditional ways. First, trying to break the track links with conventional tools, and when that didn't work, Simmons, desperate for results, tried cutting the track with arc welding equipment. To no avail. During all of this, the night fell on their exposed position, and Iraqi troops returned in strength, trying to put an end to the recovery operation with small arms fire and further RPG shots. Garrett, observing this from his position in 2-4 Charlie, laid down effective suppressive fire on the approaching enemies, using his pintle-mounted machine gun fending them off. Out of options, Simmons decided to try one last unorthodox strategy to pull 2-1 out of the ditch. As 3-3 Bravo had returned to the scene, he connected both CRARRVs by chains, and then, using A-frame drawbars, attached stricken 2-1 to his 2-4 Charlie. This unorthodox method worked, and 2-1 was finally pulled out of the ditch after a grueling 14 hours and towed back to the friendly lines some 3 kilometers away. In sharp contrast to the myth, the recovery operation was by far the biggest struggle, and was in no way as easy or quick as the popular story portrays it to be. After being towed back, 2-1 spent 4 days in repairs before returning to the field, a far cry from the ready-to-fight next day that is often spread around, or the 6 hours on Wikipedia. For their stubbornness, diligence and bravery, Simmons and Garrett were both mentioned in dispatches, further proving that this was no easy recovery operation, and disproving the ease with which the Challenger in the myth got recovered. Both the written reports, as well as interviews with the crew, confirm this sequence of events, as can be still seen in an archived interview with the crew from 2nd of April 2003, made by Daily Record in Glasgow. The newspaper contacted REME in Iraq and got a reply that the tank will be ready sometime today. It is most likely the cause of the ready to fight next day part of the myth, as someone definitely had to miss the date of the interview. In the end, 2-1 was not alone. Nor did it survive getting hit by 14, 16, 17 or ridiculous 70 enemy RPGs and ATGMs. Nor was it quickly recovered and ready to fight the next day. But the tank nonetheless proved that it was standing up to its role, with a still very respectable 8 total hits suffered from anti-tank weapons, 7 out of which were RPGs of various kinds, and 1 being an ATGM. With this, Challenger 2 proved to be a survivable, if not heavily flawed design, which still serves to this day and now meets the once thought about Russian tanks in the fields of Ukraine to various results. The accounts of the incident in this video are based on the written record of the incident in Simon's Dunstan book Challenger 2 Main Battle Tank 1987 to 2006 from Osprey Publishing, as well as crew testimonies and other resources such as the dispatches mentions confirming the REME engineer's feat. I have tried to contact the Royal Scot Dragoon Guards via email to get a digital copy of volume 33 of the regimental magazine and report Eagle and Carabine, which would cover the time frame when the battle occurred. But as of writing this script, I have received no reply and the volume is still missing from their website. I also did an FOI request, but I'm waiting for a reply. If any additional information disproving Dunstan's and the crew versions of the incident surface, I will happily make a follow-up video correcting any mistakes. With this, I would like to thank Blazekiller for help with the script, as I'm not a native English speaker, Red Effect for a lot of tips and encouragement, and Decimir, Corvus and Asvel for being overall helpful, pushing me to actually finish this. If you are still watching this, thank you, and maybe see you in some other video I make someday. With emphasis on maybe.